Welcome back to Tears for Fears. I'm your host, Megan Shoup, and the reason you're not seeing my smiling face this week is I moved and I do not have my office or set up. I'm also in max pain, kind of the way I felt when I watched all the wasted Odell Beckham air yards from last week, but this is a more physical pain. But you know what? The show must go on. And while the show may be a little shorter this week, we may not dive into data or fades or deep analysis quite as much. I'm still going to give you my favorite plays and core plays for each tier. So let's get right to it. First, before we go tier by tier, I want to explain how tiers is a little different this week. This is the Playmakers edition, which means each tier is a different position. Usually we have tiers 1 and 5 as quarterbacks, and the rest of the tiers are mixed between running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. You can't see it really well here, but on mobile you can see it a little better. Basically, tier 1 is pocket passer, tier 2 is mobile quarterback, tier 3 is bell cow running back, tier 4 is committee running back, tier 5 is target leader, tier 6 is deep threat, tier 7 is possession receiver, and tier 8 is receiving tight end. So that's just going to change things a little bit this week, change our dynamics. Usually we're trying to look for edges between running backs and wide receivers. So we're going to have to look for edges in different ways and, look for spots where we want to find ownership leverage. So that's just how it's different this week. Honestly, I remember it last year, but I can't remember if I did better or worse. So we will find out this week, but I'm really looking forward to breaking it down with you guys. So let's get to it. In the first tier for pocket passers, we have Tom Brady, Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, and Aaron Rodgers. And I really like all the quarterbacks in this tier except for Justin Herbert. Listen, I love Herbert, but playing Cleveland, they just really slow the game down, so that worries me. And Dak Prescott, he's been running really hot on touchdowns, so I'll have a little of him here. But my favorite plays are really Rodgers, Burrow, and Brady. That Cincinnati-Green Bay game really could shoot out, and I like the idea of Burrow and Rodgers punching back and forth, so I'll have a lot of exposure to them. But my favorite play is Tom Brady in a bounce-back spot. Listen, he's got the monkey off the back after playing Belichick, and, I really like him against the Miami defense to come out there and put up some points. And, they're still passing at a very high rate. So Tom Brady is my tier 1 play. In tier 2, we have the mobile quarterbacks, and we have Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones, and Trey Lance. And I didn't think that Sam Darnold would be in the mobile category, but here we are. But my favorite plays are Kyler Murray, Sam Darnold, and Jalen Hurts. Hurts and Darnold in that game, I really like both of them for floor-ceiling combination, but by far the best play is Kyler Murray. He's definitely got the highest ceiling. So Kyler Murray is our tier 2 play. In tier 3, we have the bell cow running backs, and we have Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, Najee Harris, Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and Saquon Barkley. And, I'm going to have a little bit of Barkley and Eckler, but my favorite plays are Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry. And with Derrick Henry, I love him in this spot, a bounce-back spot for the Titans. And against the Jaguars, I see it as a 100-yard bonus, possibly multiple touchdowns. He's catching some passes and getting targets now. So I believe this is the third week in a row that I've played Derrick Henry in this tier, and he hasn't failed me yet. So Derrick Henry is my tier 3 play. In tier 4, we have the committee running backs, and we have Kareem Hunt, Jamal Williams, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Gainwell, James Conner, J.D. McKissic, and Javonte Williams. And in this tier and in tier 8 with tight ends, I think you can take some ownership leverage stands and look for some lower-owned guys because these are the tiers that are most volatile. But I do have to say Kareem Hunt stands out far and away. He's getting the most usage out of these guys. But other guys I like are Gainwell, Conner, and McKissic. Especially pay attention to McKissic and Conner and the practice reports for their teams. If Chase Edmonds or Antonio Gibson was for some reason ruled out, these guys become smash plays. But of course, then everybody else would know that too. But I do like McKissic, Conner, Gainwell, and Hunt. And I need to rotate more in these tiers that are more volatile. But looking at Kareem Hunt's usage, he's getting targets, attempts. Cleveland's running the ball a ton. Baker's banged up. So Kareem Hunt is my tier 4 play. In tier 5, we have the target leaders, and we have Deebo Samuel, DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans, and DeAndre Hopkins. And you have to like the guys here that have the over 30% market share on their team. And that's Samuel, Moore, McLaurin, and Devontae Adams. And Adams being the highest. With Deebo Samuel, he's running white hot on efficiency. And, one of his touchdowns last week was a broken play. So, while I like Deebo Samuel, I'm probably just going to have a little exposure to him. My favorite plays are actually Moore, McLaurin, Adams, and also Mike Evans. Well, there are more targets going around to more receivers on Tampa Bay. They pass at such an exceptionally high rate. So those are my 4 favorites. And my favorite is Davante Adams. Again, I like that game between the Packers and Bengals to potentially shoot out. And I could see Adams getting, the 100-yard bonus, a ton of targets, and of course a touchdown or 2. So Davante Adams is my tier 5 play. In Tier 6, we have the deep threats, and we have Mike Williams, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Cooks, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Henry Ruggs III, Devonta Smith, and Odell Beckham Jr. And I have to say 3 plays really stick out to me here. I think Justin Jefferson in a bounce-back game against Detroit. Vikings were playing the very slow-paced Browns last week, and that game was so low-scoring. I really like them to bounce back this week, the whole offense and Jefferson here. Chase in that game against the Packers struggling secondary, and a game that I think could potentially shoot out, as I've mentioned, and CeeDee Lamb in a bounce-back spot. So those are my 3 favorite core plays, but my favorite play is Justin Jefferson. He is popping as the highest ceiling on the percentile projections on Run the Sims, and he always has that huge ceiling potential. So Justin Jefferson is my Tier 6 play. In Tier 7, we have the possession receivers, and we have Chris Godwin, Adam Thielen, Keenan Allen, Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers, Courtland Sutton, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Allen Robinson. And I'll make this easy. My core plays are the top 3 in Godwin, Thielen, and Allen. I really like the bounce-back spots for the Buccaneers and Vikings offenses. And, Keenan Allen is still getting a lot of targets. So those are my 3 favorite core plays, but out of all of them, I would have to say Godwin is going to be my favorite play. He's popping as the highest ceiling in the Run the Sims percentile projections, and I really like this offense to bounce back. So Chris Godwin is my Tier 7 play. In Tier 8, we have the tight ends, and we have Darren Waller, Dalton Schultz, TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant, Dallas Goedert, George Kittle, Max Williams, and Robert Tonyan. And just like Tier 4 with the committee running backs, I think in this tier, as tight ends usually are, is volatile as well. So if it's a volatile tier, I think you can take some ownership stands. And while Darren Waller is obviously the safest play and gets the most usage, you can look to some other guys that are going to be much lower owned. And 2 guys I like are TJ Hawkinson and Noah Fant. Both are still getting a lot of targets, and I don't think people are going to be really interested in playing them as much. And, both are probably going to be playing from behind. So I'd say Hawkinson and Fant I like for lower own. But, of course, Darren Waller is the safest play with the highest ceiling. So for this lineup, Darren Waller is my Tier 8 play. That's it for this week's Tears for Fears. I hope this helps your tiers process. Be sure to leave in the comments if you like this Playmakers edition or if you like the traditional tiers. Also, leave in the comments your favorite core plays or sneaky low-owned plays. And, again, keep in mind this week, I think where you can maybe get some low ownership is to go back to some guys that have kind of been left some stinkers the last couple of weeks, or offenses that didn't perform last week, like the Buccaneers and Vikings. That's what I'm going to go back to and look for some low ownership. Also, again, look for low ownership in some of the more volatile tiers, like the committee running backs and tight ends. I'm not saying that I like Kareem Hunt and Darren Waller a lot, but I will take some shots on some lower owned plays too, especially in the bigger tournament. So remember, before you get out of here, to like this episode, subscribe to the Mayo Media Network, and of course, check out our sponsors at Run the Sims. So until next week, let's go make some money, and I'll see you next time.